welcome into another cooking stream, everybody. Happy Thursday night. It is that time of year where soup sounds really good, but also to make a good soup, it takes so much time. So we're gonna do something that should be equally fun, still hits that soup really well, a little bit on the heartier side, and is also just amazing traditional dish. We're making some ramen. So I've got hopefully everything prepped up and ready to go. And I have some tea this time, and we're just gonna jump right into it. So the first thing I do is whatever I've got for my protein, I'm gonna start marinating that first thing. So what we're doing tonight is we're doing some chicken, and we've got I forgot to thaw out chicken breast or chicken thighs, so I'm doing chicken breasts. Thighs are much better for this kind of dish, but can make it work. So it's not super thick, not super thin, and we're gonna go with a really simple marinade on these. We have some super traditional mirin right here. I know it's usually pretty crystal clear, but this is a traditional Japanese mirin, and we're gonna give it just about like a tablespoon. And then we're also going to give it some soy sauce, and for that we'll give it about like a tablespoon and a half, maybe 2 tablespoons. And then toss in a little bit of garlic powder, because personally there can never be enough garlic flavor in anything. And then the last thing, which I need to grab because I knew I would forget something, I'm going to go grab ginger powder. Alright, so we'll just add in a touch of powdered ginger to that. Just give it a little extra layer of flavor. And then we're going to mix this through, make sure that any of the seasoning doesn't clump, and we got some nice even coverage. And then we're just going to let this sit, because that's going to be one of the last things we cook. And also, obviously, anytime you touch raw meat, wash your damn hands. Cross contamination's a thing. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get started on our quick, easy base for the soup. And for that, we're going to grab a pretty decent sized saucepan here, because we're going to be adding a bunch of stuff to it. And you'll start off with a little bit of oil in your pan. And then right over here, we have some minced garlic and ginger. And once this pan is nice and hot, we're going to add that in and cook it over a medium heat until it's just starting to soften and get really aromatic, but you don't want to caramelize it. And, oh, I spilled water all over. That was not what I meant to do. So we're going to fix that real quick. And then the other thing we'll do, we'll get a small saucepan getting heated up with some water on high, because we're going to be doing our soft-boiled egg at the same time. Let me grab an egg here. So the tricks for soft-boiled eggs are pretty easy. You put enough water in your pan that you'll cover the eggs. You bring your water to a boil, and then you very gently drop your eggs in. I'll go through this again when I'm actually putting it in the pan, but you will very gently drop it into the pan to make sure that you don't break the egg, because even cracking just a little bit of that shell can end up having it just be a complete mess. And then all it takes is 7 minutes You'll keep it on a rolling boil for those 7 minutes, pull it from the heat, and immediately put it in an ice bath. That way it stops the cooking. Our oil is nice and hot now. So we will add in our ginger and garlic. And I'm going to be doing my best to actually be proactive and do dishes along the way and be smart. Let's see here. Get a fan going. And yeah, like I said, this we're just looking to get it nice and softened. A little bit translucent, but not overcooking it. That way it just adds some really nice aromatic flavor to that broth. And then the other things we're going to need for our broth, nice and easy, we'll be doing chicken broth. You can use whatever your broth of choice is. I know a lot of the time it's either a soy sauce based broth or typically pork based, but I got you. I have no idea who you are, but I got you. I'm making some ramen right now. We got, excuse me while I sip on some tea. We got some garlic and ginger heating up in a pan because we're making the broth from scratch. Hell yeah. You are absolutely welcome, friend. Welcome in. And let's see, we are just about ready to add our broth. And for this, we're going to be going for 4 cups of broth. Now that our garlic and ginger is nice and hot, we will add that in. For once, trying to not make a giant mess everywhere. So far, succeeding. You know what? It is, it's something that feels complicated, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. Like, exactly. I started cooking when I was really young because it was something that I just kind of loved to do. But I think I was like 20 when I finally got into cooking in restaurants, and that's a whole different thing altogether. But any actual cooking is surprisingly simple. It's more the timing of everything that's the hardest part. Everything else, it just kind of flows together. All right, so we're going to, I gotta add a little bit more broth in there. There we go. All right, so we're gonna leave this on about a medium heat. Hey, that's awesome, good for you. Photography is a super fun thing to get into. Let's see. Our water for our egg is almost boiling, but at this point we can just kind of sit for a second. We'll add about a tablespoon of some mirin and about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And then that we're just gonna let come to a boil slowly. What up, bro? Hey, I mean, there's nothing wrong with dreaming. Like, that gives you plenty of time to figure out just what kind of photography you want to do. Okay, we got our water boiling, and now for doing a soft-boiled egg, the most important thing is to very, very gently set it in your pan. You want to make sure you have enough water that it actually covers the top of the egg. and then you set your timer for 7 minutes, and just let that roll to a boil. Once the 7 minutes are up, we're going to immediately take that, cover it in cold water, and drop it into an ice bath. Hey, that's awesome. What type of photography? Alright. My broth is taking too long to simmer, and I am impatient. Oh, nice! That's awesome! That's those are two things that there's never enough photographers for. Alright. This is the part where we just kind of have to sit and wait. That is a good point. There is, especially in wedding photography, there's a lot of money. So one of the cool things about doing a big batch, oh my damn, that's some bank right there. Good on you. That'll be a nice career. So one of the cool things about making a big batch of ramen broth is once you got it cooked up, you can toss it into like mason jars, small containers, anything that's microwave safe, and get it down to room temperature and then freeze it. That way you literally just have individual batches of broth if you're not going to use it all at once. Like tonight I'm just going to be doing one batch, or one bowl. I know words. But then it makes for a really, really simple meal for you for the future. And sometimes I'll go to any kind of Asian market and actually pick up some fresh ramen. Honestly, we're just going top ramen tonight. Like, there's nothing wrong with that freeze-dried goodness. We're not going to use the sauce packet because we're making actual broth, but honestly, there's no knocking top ramen. That shit's still good. Let's see here. Broth is coming along nicely. Still got another 5 minutes on that egg. Our chicken is looking good in the marinade. Hey, that's really cool. Hell yeah. I mean, especially now that esports in general is becoming such a huge thing. There are games literally being made to try and become esports, so that's something that you could really easily get into early. Swimming's a lot of fun too. Swimming's some good cardio. I'll be right back. Gotta wash my hands. Alright, we back. That is one thing I will always stress. Cross-contamination is a deadly thing. If you touch raw meat, just wash your hands. And also, tea is delicious. Okay. So, sitting at about 5 minutes of letting the broth simmer. So at this point, we're going to give it a little taste. That is a really good point. Esports is one of those things where, like, there's so many different tiers. Even just semi-pro esports, you can make some decent money. One of my best friends used to, way back in the day, do a little bit of pro Left 4 Dead, and he made a couple $100 just doing that real casually. Ooh, that's good. Yep, that too. Alright, so at this point, our broth is ready to go for the next step. The next thing that I prefer to do, we got a package of some dried shiitake mushrooms. I love having a fuck ton of mushrooms in my ramen. Hope I actually slice that open. But typically, one whole 1 ounce package is going to be for this entire thing of broth. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a smaller saucepan here. And we are just going to ladle in the broth for tonight. Make sure to get plenty of that good garlic and ginger in there. We'll set the rest of our broth aside. We'll get this going on a low heat, and then we are going to add some of our shiitake mushrooms. And I would definitely recommend against adding it to the stuff that you're going to freeze later if you're going to use some of it later, because dried, frozen, reheated mushrooms are not a good texture at all. Let's see, almost done on the eggs. What'd you say there? Hey, I mean, $200 for playing a video game is $200. Like, that is nothing to scoff at. All right. So we're going to let those mushrooms hydrate in our broth for about 10 minutes. We'll just leave it on a really low heat. 7 minutes just came up for our soft-boiled egg. So we're going to take this over, start getting a bunch of cold water on it, and then dump in some ice so it cools down rapidly. I would take you guys over here to show you what I'm doing, but I do not have a full professional kitchen setup here, so we're just going to make do. So we'll let that cool and get up to room temperature. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our chicken going. And so, like I said, we've got our chicken marinating in a really simple mix of just mirin, soy sauce, garlic, and ginger powder. We're going to get a nice steaming hot pan going on about a medium high. You can use your oil of choice. Honestly, most of the time I end up going for some spray coconut oil if I'm doing any kind of Asian dish, because it'll add just a little underlying layer of sweetness. Yeah, no, you got a good plan for what you're trying to get into. It's nice to find things you enjoy. Hey, Rosie, how's it going? Let's see, we still have a fuck ton of mushrooms left, so I'm gonna go tuck that away. You're totally good. I stream at 5 most of the time. For some reason I've been doing the cooking streams at 6, but when we go to Tuesdays next week, it'll be back to actually doing them at 5. It was my bad. I can fill you in on all this later. I mean, that's one of the things that you just kind of find out in life, is you gotta roll with the punches. Like, hey, as long as you give a commentary while you're watching, I'm down with that. But yeah, there's There's no guarantee that things are going to work out the way that you want them to, but at the end of the day, you just kind of roll with the punches and figure it out. As long as you have a decent idea of what you want to do, there's no reason not to go after it. Okay. What do I not need? Let's see here. So we're going to move this down to about a medium heat, and we are going to cover it with a lid. That way we're getting it fully cooked all the way through, nice and soft, but also not getting too blackened on the outside. You want a good texture, but you don't want to burn your shit. Coming in with all those technical terms. Like, okay. So now, we've got our broth all done and ready to set aside. I cannot stop splashing water everywhere. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to let that broth just sit off to the side, and we're going to start heating up our water for the pasta. Nope, nobody's mentioned my butt yet. I appreciate you bringing it in. I'll give you an extra little peek just for that. Nala! The whole family's here! I always save my butt for when you get here, and also Matla, because we all know that he's a fan too. Okay, so we're back at another point where we're just kind of waiting for things to happen. We've got our chicken cooking up over here. Again, chicken thighs are the way to go for ramen if you're doing chicken on your ramen. I was an idiot and forgot to pull chicken thighs out of the freezer, so instead of trying to thaw a 4-pound block of chicken thighs, I grabbed a chicken breast and cut it up similar size to chicken thighs. Simple marinade on that. We've got our broth with our rehydrated mushrooms going over there. We got our water going for cooking up the noodles, cause it ain't a good dish without some nudes. You're killing me, bruh. So, with the extra fat content in chicken thighs, you're gonna end up having a much juicier. That comes later, okay? You, that's a little bit hot. Okay, back to what I was saying. We're gonna turn that all the way down and add some extra oil before I burn my fucking chicken. Cause you know, trying to not do too bad of a job for y'all. Yeah, we're gonna turn the heat off, let that simmer down a little bit, cause they screaming already, and they're probably at maybe 90 degrees, so that's gonna need some. But yeah, so with the higher fat content in chicken thighs, you're gonna end up having a much juicier piece of meat to go in. It also tends to absorb the flavor a little bit better. People typically don't like using chicken breast because it does take a lot more to actually break that flavor down through. But, doggo, you're being cute. You're being cute. But yeah, chicken thighs are definitely the way to go, especially in Asian cooking. For the most part, they're going to ask for chicken thighs. While we are just kind of waiting for shit to happen, since our noodles aren't quite done yet, I've got a couple of things that I pre-prepared. We've got some bean sprouts. Hey, I got all kinds of random kitchen knowledge I am always willing to share with you. So we got some bean sprouts, and at least for me, for my ramen, I like to have just some really nice fresh veggies on top for a little pop of some flavor and some texture. So for your bean sprouts, really easy, just rinse them. That's all you need to do. They sometimes come pre-rinsed, but honestly, I wouldn't trust it and rinse them anyway because they can carry salmonella, and that's not good for you. We have some sliced green onions in this adorably tiny dish that is even more small compared to my hand. That's cool. Little bit of corn. It's not always the traditional way to do it, but in some ramens, corn and even corn with some butter is a super tasty topping. Okay, now that this is not screaming at me anymore, we're going to go back on the heat. And then the two other things we have in here, and these I'm super excited I found. At any Asian grocery, you'll probably be able to find them, but some of these little baby button mushrooms are fucking delicious in ramen. They have a little bit of a meaty texture to them. There's not much flavor you're gonna get from them. They're definitely a more mild mushroom, but they make a fantastic addition to your ramen. And then the last thing, something I made a little bit special earlier, you will have to at some point. There's I mean, you know, bruh. What we have in here is we have some pickled daikon. And for that, I did pretty similar to the pickled carrots I did for the banh mi bowls, but I see you over there. So, 2-to-1 water to white wine, or to just plain old white vinegar. Check my chicken real quick, and we'll continue that thought. I don't know, I bumped Celsius. No, that's not what I want. There we go, that's better. Okay. So our chicken is now done. At this point, we're just waiting for our noodles to cook. But yeah, so back to the pickled daikon. So it's, for those of you who don't know, daikon is a form of radish. It is typically just long, white. It comes in a bunch of different sizes depending on how long they let it grow. But for my pickled daikon, I like to do it, I'm gonna grab it, essentially banh mi style for the size. So not too thick, not too thin, just a nice little piece. And as I drop my top ramen in because we're going full fancy tonight, I did it a little bit different than I usually do. So just to add a little bit more flair and a little bit more flavor, we have the usual 2-to-1 water to vinegar with an extra splash of just some traditional mirin. And for a little bit of something extra, I also tossed a piece of crystallized ginger in there to add just a little bit of sweetness, but also get some of that ginger pop. That way we're getting a little more depth of flavor in there. Okay. So now comes the most nerve-wracking part. We have our soft-boiled egg here. I have for the longest time been able to do them spot on, but we're gonna see how well I can actually do that. I know, dude. Oh my god, I'm super stoked. The H Mart close to my place finally has like realistic sized daikons, not one the size of my fucking arm. So I can actually start buying daikon and start using the shit out of that. Like, I'm a huge fan of Vietnamese food, so daikon goes in like everything. Aha. How's it feeling? Ooh. I'm gonna pull in the camera. Oh, you know what? I did not know that it freezes well. I'm gonna have to remember that. Okay, we're gonna strain our ramen real quick because the noodles are done. And obviously we're working with Top Ramen. You guys should know very well how to cook that stuff because it's... Pretty sure y'all are like me, grew up poor as shit, so ramen was some good stuff. Leave the dishes in the sink for me to take care of later. First thing we're gonna do, Hey, you know what? Honestly, Marchan is definitely better, but it's a little bit more expensive sometimes. So usually I just go for Top Ramen. I'm a. If y'all didn't know this about me, I don't treat myself. I'm a cheap bitch. All right. So we got our noodles in our bowl. I'm gonna grab the camera so I can show you guys all this stuff. So sorry for anybody who has any sort of issues with movement. So in here, first of all, tiny adorable dog. Say hello to everyone, friend. So we have our broth along with our rehydrated mushrooms, and we're just gonna pour that right on over our noodles, which to be fair, I did not give myself enough broth, so we're gonna grab a little bit more. Oh damn, bro, that's some extra good shit. I like my ramen to have a pretty decent. We're gonna go for one of these awkward angles. I like my ramen to be a pretty 1-to-1 ratio noodles for broth. And then the next thing we're gonna do, which actually I'll set you guys. Let's see here. That gonna work? Yeah, there we go. Figuring it out. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our chicken. Let's see. Just gonna grab the biggest piece I got here. Actually, no. The first thing we're gonna do. Yeah, no, MSG, it got a bad rap for a long. Whoop, get that actually at face level. It got a bad rap for a long time, but it actually isn't that bad for you. It's it really is just like the umami flavor for Asian cooking. Okay, so now comes what will hopefully be the best part. So right here, turn this around, we have what should be, what should be a lovely soft-boiled egg. For those of you who don't know, I do declare myself a master of eggs. Yep, exactly. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna try and get a cross-section for you guys. So we got a nice sharp knife, cut, slide. Oh, woo! That's I don't know about y'all, but that is a beautiful, beautiful soft-boiled egg. I'm an egg master. Okay, so we're gonna start building out our bowl a little bit here. I usually, if it's actually at a restaurant, you're just gonna get a half, but fuck that whole egg. Eat the whole egg. Toss our bean sprouts in on the side. Gonna have to set y'all down for a second here again. We can cut this chicken, and you know what? I'm just gonna use the eggy knife. I'm gonna rinse it, and we're gonna use the egg knife. And for this, we got a nice, beautifully seared, marinated piece of chicken. We're gonna pretend it's a thigh. And presentation, cutting it on the bias is the way to go. And also make sure your chicken isn't fucking medium rare. Chicken ain't red meat. Cook that shit to 165 degrees. If you know what you're doing, you can cook it to 160 and cut it, because there are certain types of oil that will continue to cook it up to 5 degrees, especially like if you're deep frying. But make sure that shit is actually cooked through. I care about y'all. Don't get sick. Don't get salmonella. I can't do cooking streams if y'all die, so don't fucking do it, alright? So back to our delicious ramen bowl. We got that egg starting to run off the side, looking beautiful. Going to just place this right along the middle. Give it a nice little spread there. Next thing we're going to grab is and that's fine, I'm going to be eating this later. We're going to grab a pinch of our pickled daikon, and we're going to set that on the side. Obviously, it's not traditional ramen because it's not like swimming in. It is a lot of protein. I'm a grown boy. I gotta eat a bunch of fucking food. And also food is delicious, and so is chicken. Let's see if I can, I can't do it one-handed. We're just gonna set y'all down for a second here. Don't commit suicide, camera, please. Next thing we'll do is we're gonna grab just a little pinch of corn for a little pop of flavor and a little bit of color. Set y'all back down. And now for the button mushrooms over here. It's really, really simple. You can just take however much you want, take a knife, and cut them right off. So, like, right here we just got a, whoop, that's a dirty hand. That's a clean hand. We got just a little, whoop, bundle of mushrooms right there. I'm going to set those on the side. Honestly, once this is over and I'm actually going to eat it, I will end up adding a bunch more mushrooms. But then, we're getting towards the end. We're almost there. One thing about the way that I cook ramen is you're looking at a lot of, I'm trying to hold the camera steady for y'all. Y'all, my hand is fucking shaky most of the time. Let's do a little something else. Let's see. How's that? Is this gonna work? Did it stop turning on me? We're just gonna, there we go. There we go. Okay. So, obviously, it is not a very colorful dish right now. It's a whole lot of white, brown, and yellow. So, for some flavor and a little bit of color, I'm going to sprinkle some green onions right there in the middle. I cannot get enough green onions, so that's probably heavier than most people would do. Isn't that a really awesome bowl? And then, just because we can, a little bit of sesame seeds. Because sesame seeds are delicious, and we're going to get me down here on this level for a little bit of shake. You can do that. There's also what's called gamasio, which is typically sea salt, seaweed, and sesame seeds, and that shit is super, super bomb. Okay. Are y'all ready? You know what? I didn't get any pickled ginger. I should have got some pickled ginger. There is a fuck ton of ginger in the broth, though. That is one thing. So, one finished bowl of ramen right there. And then, I don't know that you guys were around here earlier when I talked about it, because it was super early in the stream, but one of the cool things about making a big batch of that, are you getting hungry? I will make you stuff like this all the time one of these days. That's a promise. You can even stare at my butt while I make it. But one of the cool things about doing ramen like this is if you're making that, I can do that. I can give you guys a bite. You know what? No. Y'all are gonna get to enjoy me attempting to eat ramen with chopsticks. That's what we're doing it. And you know what? You are right. I have not done a taste test for any of these cooking streams. We're gonna have that happen tonight. But before we taste that, the cool thing about making a batch of ramen broth is if you're making it for a bunch of people, then you've got enough for everyone. You'll dump all your dried shiitake mushrooms in, whereas if you're doing like what I did where you're just doing one and saving the rest of the broth for later, you will add as much mushrooms as you want, let those rehydrate, that way you're not dealing with the just horrific texture of dried, rehydrated, frozen, reheated mushrooms, because that's not something I have or ever will try. That sounds fucking horrifying. But yeah, with that broth, what you can do is take mason jars, small-ish containers, whatever size you want, take that broth, cool it down to room temperature, put that out into individual portions, and freeze it. That way you have a simple, easy ramen broth that you can just, whenever you want, pull it, nuke it in the microwave, toss it in a pan, whatever, and make yourself some ramen. Okay, now, I don't know how I'm gonna get everything in one bite, but we're gonna try this. And also, you guys, 2 of you have seen how ridiculous it is watching me eat with chopsticks before. But now everyone on the internet can see. And also how fucking tough it is to break up an egg. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Gotta get a little bit of everything. I'm failing. Guys, it's a hard bite. There we go. Oh, no, I dropped my egg. Ah! Alright. I lost my egg. Where the fuck? Ooh, but I did find a mushroom. There we go. Okay, you know what? We're giving up on getting a bite with everything in there. We're just getting some of the good stuff. Biggest anticipation build ever. I know. And see, to be fair, the only thing I ever use a microwave for is chicken nuggets. Because there are some times where I'm hungry, but I don't want to go through the effort of actually cooking, so I... Oh my god, I love it when you clap back. Oh, that's beautiful. But yeah, no, when I'm just feeling like being a lazy piece of shit, I will nuke some chicken nuggets, but that's, for the most part, how often I try to use a microwave. Okay, I have teased you guys long enough. Well, now it's a question of if I can actually, there we go. Alright, I'm gonna actually get this. I wish you guys were here with me right now. Like, This is only the second time I've ever made ramen. And I don't know why, but I'm really fucking good at cooking Asian food. Like, I need to get in and eat more of this. I'm sorry, we're gonna keep the teas going, because fucking shit. Ooh, I got some of the button mushrooms this time. They add just a little bit of earthiness. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but that is definitely something I can do. Well, you know what? You don't have to miss his mom's food anymore. Yeah. Even though it's chicken breasts and not chicken thigh. I feel like that's the mark of a good ex. It doesn't look so good anymore, but it tastes fucking amazing. Jesus Christ. Y'all just want to stand here and chat while I eat this bomb-ass ramen? Because we still got 15 more minutes if we want. And, I mean, you know my address. If you can get here in the next 15 minutes, I will make you a bowl. I almost choked. I mean, that sounds good, sweetheart. I'll talk to you. I'll text you as soon as I'm done. That. All right, y'all ready for this? I definitely didn't almost die on that. But yeah, this is I don't mean to toot my own horn, but y'all, I make a great fucking ramen. We will. You mean you're not supposed to go? Oh, let's stand right. You're not supposed to go back super curved doing this. That's not a proper. That's not a neutral spine. Because this is how I work out. You know, all I want is I just want people staring at that. I know. It's people are just fucking disasters in the gym. Oof. But also, speaking of the gym, I'm fucking proud. My standard leg press these days, 450 pounds. We're doing 6 sets of 6 on that shit. Sometimes 6 sets of 8 if I'm feeling. You know what? Fuck you, Mala. That's like 2.5 me's. Alright? Don't call me weak, motherfucker. If you can't leg press an entire truck, you're not doing it right? Is that what I'm hearing? Ooh, I got a bite with the pickled daikon. Oh. That is true. I gotta. Even though I go to Crunch, the one I go to has some random stuff that they don't have that makes no sense. I don't blame you, man. I'm sure this will make you jealous, but leg press is the second thing I do every leg day, which today was leg day, that's why we're talking about this. And the last thing I do is I do wide single leg presses. I would highly recommend you don't go... I'd highly recommend you don't buy battle ropes from a store because they will charge you out the ass for something that's going to be too short and definitely a piece of shit. Like, I bought battle ropes back at the beginning of COVID, and I spent like 40 or 50 bucks, and it was, I think maybe 6 feet, maybe 10 feet, now I can't remember, but it's not long enough to actually do battle ropes. Go to a hardware store, go to a fucking Lowe's. That is also fair. You guys have like an entire gym. But yeah, just go to a hardware store at Harbor Freight. That's a great place to get it. Most definitely. But just buy some decent grip tape for the ends. That is also fair. Holy shit, that's cheap. Yeah, no. What Mal said. Go to Harbor Freight if you're looking to get some battle ropes, because that and just a couple layers of duct tape will be enough to make it really easy to actually use battle ropes at home. And for anyone who hasn't done that, that is some of the best, like, actual muscle gain cardio, because you will, depending on how you do it, you can work your arms, you can work your triceps, you can even work your fucking chest in with that shit. Hey, you know what? At least you only have to go to Harbor Freight for a side of COVID. I'm in fucking Texas. I go anywhere and I'm risking a side of COVID. Oh, dude. How do you like the gorilla bow? Later, man. I've heard really good things about that. And then there's also a, like, a Viking axe kind of thing you can buy that's just a super heavy axe that doesn't have an edge, so you can literally just keep swinging it around. In this day and age, that's really all that matters, is getting enough to get by. Like, before the gyms reopened down here, I was stuck with a set of 10s, a 20, a 25, and some medium resistance bands. And I was sad. But on the plus side, sometimes you do need to give your body a rest. I need to invest in some better resistance bands, because I think the ones that I have, I call them medium resistance, but they're probably like maybe 30 pounds of resistance. Something like that would be great. Y'all, I wish there was smell-o-vision or something I could do to share this with you guys. Okay. I'm gonna go full animal and finish this thing off, so I think we're gonna call the stream here. I will be back tomorrow night, where even though Remnant did not end well last week, throughout the week, my man Trustworthy Moose and I have got back to the point that we were at. So, we're gonna be back for Remnant, picking up where we left off. Probably not me being as much of a dipshit, because I will fully admit that last Friday I was on some next level stupidity. But it will be fun to be getting back to that. We'll see if the blessed run continues to happen. I'm gonna open the stream setting that meme right on the card. Like, that's gonna be all everybody sees for the first minute. It was so beautiful. I appreciate you for making that, man. But yeah, we're gonna call it here, so I can just absolutely annihilate some more ramen and clean up the mess I made. But thank you guys so much for joining, especially you, Mela. That was a blast having you hop in there at the end. Grab my mouse here. And yeah, I will be back tomorrow night for more fun. Have a great night.